Hey guys, and welcome back to episode 4 of Noob to Nodewar, the road to 400 gear score. So, last episode, we discussed gearing up, hitting that 300 gear score, first really good point, hitting level 50, as well as the free Asula set that you can get in Medea. This episode, we'll be discussing Awakening. So, Awakening happens at level 56. Once you hit level 56, you will be given a quest to complete your awakening for your specific class. For the Musa, the quest will lead you to Hayam's Crescent Blade, which is a giant glaive or polearm. So the awakening quest, as soon as you hit level 56, do it. Awakening gives you huge increases in combat power no matter which class you are. The absolute skills, which enhance your original skill set, do not give you, and in fact you cannot get most of the good absolute skills until 57, 58 anyways. So, doing the Awakening quest, it's fairly simple. The Black Spirit, depending on your class, some of the new classes have really cool quests, such as the Striker, where you have to go to a certain cave and complete the Echo Spirit quest line. But for most of the original classes, what you have to do is simply get some knowledge, talk to a few people, and then complete 3 different kill quests, including killing golems in the Medea Wilderness, which you'll probably need some help for, as golems are incredibly difficult to kill, especially at lower levels of gear score. Once you complete these, you go back to whoever you had to talk to for knowledge, and they will give you a new weapon. Now, you'll be given 2 new weapons once you awaken. One is a plus 10 green weapon, and the other is an unupgraded blue weapon. Do not pay any attention to the blue weapon. Yes, it's more powerful than the green, but it is way more expensive to upgrade, and the increase in power is not worth the extra money that you will have to spend at this point in the game in order to upgrade it. Also, blue weapons that are already upgraded can be found on the marketplace very easily. There is almost always a try floating around somewhere. Usually you can find duo or pry within a day of looking. So if you really want a blue, just save up and buy it from the marketplace. Do not bother upgrading it yourself. But the green, the plus 10, just take that, try to get it to plus 15 as fast as possible. In fact, you should have quite a bit of money from grinding to 56. So instead of upgrading to plus 15, try to get it all the way to duo. So getting it to duo, not too difficult. Getting it to try would be a little more difficult for a new player. But duo is pretty easy. You just get it to plus 15. You don't need to worry about fail stacks too much. If you want to purchase new weapons to repair it with, going over to Altanova at the eastern part of Medea, there's a vendor there that sells them for about 120,000 silver each, and you can just buy a bunch of them from him and use them to continuously repair your new weapon. If you get any fail stacks about plus 15 to plus 20 trying to upgrade your weapon, stop, go to a blacksmith, buy a blacksmith's secret book to extract the fail stacks, and start over, because you're going to need those fail stacks in order to make it pry and then duo. Once you hit plus 15, just use about 15 to 20 fail stacks to attempt to enhance it to pry, and then use between 20 and 25 fail stacks to try for duo. So getting your duo green awakening weapon, very important, as this is going to be the weapon that you rely on for grinding for the next several levels. Your main hand weapon is still important, don't throw it away or sell it, you want it at least plus 15, if not pry or duo, but having the awaken weapon to duo is very important. So another thing is, before you hit 56, right as you hit about 55 with like 90, 95, even 99% if you can, respec most of your skills. Leave skill points in your main grinding skill as well as your passives, but take out skill points from any other skill that you've been using, because you won't be using those skills once you awaken. For the Musa, leave skill points in Rising Storm as well as the weapon training and the movement training, but take them out of all the other skills such as stub arrow, any of the kicks you might have invested it in, leave them in chase as well, but take them out of everything else, because you're going to need these skill points for your awaken skills. And once you awaken at 56, you can no longer use skills and take skill points in and out of them as you wish. Instead, you need to have a Cliffs and Armstrong skill guide available so that you can respec your skills as you desire whenever you desire. Otherwise, you need to spend silver or even spend in the cash shop in order to allow yourself to respec. So respecing right before you hit 56 is a good idea so that you don't waste any of your valuable Armstrong or Cliff skill guides on respecking when you already know which skills you don't want once you hit 56. 56, so once you've awakened, is also when you want to start looking at boss gear. Now, you don't necessarily want to look into buying upgraded boss gear. For 400 gear score, a single piece of tri-boss gear is enough to allow your character to hit 400 gear score. That's how much a single piece of tri-boss gear costs. But a unupgraded piece of normal boss gear only costs 95 million silver, which is still a lot of money, but if you have it lying around, you can start to look at trying to bid on your Dandelion or even your Zarka for the class, just because those are pretty important items, and the sooner you start bidding on them, the sooner you start looking for them at the night vendor, the better prepared you will be to get them. My Musa, it took me 9 months to get the Dandelion for him. 9 months is a long time. I'm not using this clip because, well, I used my mains money to get it, so I can't really use it in this series, but I do now have a Dandelion for the Musa. So getting the Dandelion, even the Zarka, can be somewhat difficult, so the sooner you start bidding on them, the better, but you don't need to worry about them right now, because replacing them is more of a long-term goal, and really bidding on them earlier is just to kind of give you a head start, instead of having to wait in order to get them once you already have the money. You don't want to have hundreds of millions of silver kicking around and be bidding for weeks and weeks or even months on end trying to get them, when you could start bidding now in order to get them now. But it's not a priority. You can ignore it. What is a priority is figuring out your awakening. So your awakening, now that you have it, there are going to be, for every class, certain key skills that you're going to want to use, and certain skills that are actually fairly useless. There's also skills that are better for PvP, and skills that are mainly PvE focused. So, as always, we're going to be talking about the Musa, because that's what we're playing in the series. So the Musa, the main skills for the Musa are below the belt, Shift L and B, which is that huge AoE you're seeing me use, where I spin around and fire goes everywhere, as well as Crust Crusher, which is another huge AoE where you slam the polearm down on the ground, and Crosscut, which is the kind of standard, almost looks like an auto attack, where I spin to the side and slash, or spin to the other side and slash. Those are the Musa's key skills in Awakening, along with the unawakened skills Chase for movement, and the passives. Skills that the Musa doesn't care about are stuff such as Fiery Angel, which is a forward dash that ends with an upward slash. He cares about Fiery Crevice quite a bit, but he doesn't care too much about Spinner, and Twister is really just there for the extra willpower regeneration. So figuring out your awakening, pretty key for PvP. And this is what the rest of this little episode is going to talk about. PvPing over a spot. Because once you hit 56, not even 56, once you're in Medea, you're above 50, and you're starting to get passable gear, you're going to have to start worrying about being PK'd or PvP'd over your grinding spot. It doesn't matter where you're grinding, it doesn't matter how bad a spot it is, someone at some point is going to come along and want your spot. And when they do so, you're going to have three options. You can fight them over your spot, you can team up with them and grind together, or you can run away. So the first option, fighting over your spot, is what generally happens. If they come up, they ask you for your spot, you say no, you ask them to team up and they say no, then, or they ask you to team up and you say no, then one of two things is probably going to happen here. They're going to leave, or they're going to start to PvP you. And they can PvP you in a sort of honorable way, where they request a duel and you both fight to the death, and then whoever wins gets to keep the spot, whoever loses has to server hop or go somewhere else. Or they can wait for you to be at a sort more difficult part of the rotation and ambush you and try to kill you like that. This is pretty dangerous as a lower geared player, because no matter how bad the other player's gear is, it's probably going to be better than yours, meaning that they are probably going to be able to kill you in one combo, as you can see happen to me here at Helms. So, as a Musa, you are incredibly advantaged when it comes to running away from your spot. But as a Musa, you are incredibly disadvantaged, especially at lower gear scores, when it comes to fighting for your spot, because the Musa scales really well with gear, but early game, when you don't really have any good gear, that means the Musa is incredibly weak compared to classes such as the Striker, the Dark Knight, or Wizards and Witches, which come online at much earlier levels of gear score. So, as you can see in this clip, I get ambushed by this Dark Knight. She almost one-shots me. I managed to run away, but then her residual damage from the add-ons she has kills me off anyways. So, as a Musa, you kind of just got to accept that certain classes are going to be stronger than you, especially early game, and move on from it. If I had survived, because she attacked me dishonorably, what I'd probably have done was just healed up, bought some potions, and come back to try and ambush her at the spot. But because she killed me, I'm just going to try and find somewhere else in the rotation and keep grinding away. So PvP, there's a lot of different strategies for it, but in the end, it's really just kind of knowing your combos for PvP and trying to avoid the enemy's combos. A Dark Knight's combos usually involve her dashing in to get a crowd control off on you, and then throwing her giant nuking AoEs on you to turn you into a corpse. If she doesn't manage to land the crowd control, then you can just dodge the AoEs because they have moderately long cast times, like not super long, they come up fairly quickly, but in the context of Black Desert, the movement skills allow you to dodge them really easily. For a Witch or Wizard, you kind of want to wait for them to use a spell, and then dash in behind them as the spell ends, start hitting them with your crowd controls and your AoEs and your knockdowns in order to, well, basically crowd control them and start your own combo on them. And each class, they'll have different ways of fighting against them. You'll learn them as you fight against them in various spots. 1v1 PvP is a lot of fun in Black Desert. It's imbalanced, but it's also a lot of fun if you can find someone around your gear score level that you can have a lot of really good close fights with, and try not to be salty if they manage to beat you. A lot of times you can actually add them as friends if you fight them a few times and kind of talk amicably with the other player. So don't treat 1v1 PvP as sort of a life or death situation where the fate of your grind spot hangs in the balance. Treat it as a way to get better at PvP and maybe add a new friend that you can learn something from. So as a Musa, your main PvP combo is Stub Arrow into Dragon's Bite. Stub Arrow is optional. Hitting a Dragon's Bite lets you use projection from the hotbar. So you need to have projection on the hotbar. Using projection from the blade form lets you come into projection in your awakened form from blade form, which lets you then combo into below the belt, crosscut, fiery crevice, and then you can use cross crusher. So the things to note here, the kind of intricacies of this combo, are Dragon's Bite has a floating effect. Then projection, actually I think Dragon's Bite has a stun and projection has a floating effect. Projection, by having on the hotbar, you can transfer in and out of awakened form. So in the blade form, you can use projection from the hotbar to go immediately into awakened form. From the awakened form, you can use, I want to say Rising Storm from the hotbar works, but if it doesn't, you can just use the C key while moving to transfer immediately back into blade form. Then, the other kind of key thing in this combo is Fiery Crevice has a long animation time. However, Fiery Crevice, the animation can be cancelled if you use it immediately after below the belt or a crosscut. Either of these kind of big spinning moves, will allow you to use Fiery Crevice almost instantaneously, getting all the damage and all the ability off, and then transfer that immediately into Cross Crusher, which has a long animation time. Otherwise, because the long animation time of Fiery Crevice, even though you had them on the ground and crowd controlled, the animation time of Fiery Crevice would use up all that time, and by the time you went to use Cross Crusher, they'd already be up and could dash away from your Cross Crusher and then dash in to start their own combo on you, because you're vulnerable when you use Cross Crusher. Anyways, Awakening is pretty much when the real endgame to Black Desert starts. Once you awaken, you've pretty much taken your first step into the true endgame of Black Desert. You can now start to actually PvP, you can start to actually grind at full speed, and this is your first step into endgame. Awakening is an incredibly important part of Black Desert, but it doesn't mean you should ignore your pre-awakened skills. It just means they are now much less crucial to you, and you won't be using them anywhere near as much. As you can see in the video, I'm really just using non-awakened skills for life gain. I'm using Divider to regen life off packs, as well as Chase, because you can use that in the awakened form, to move between packs. For the most part, your awakened skills are going to be what you're using in Black Desert once you hit 56. So hitting 56, very important milestone. Anyways, guys, next episode we'll be hitting 400 gear score, and season 1 of this series is going to come to an end. Thanks for kind of sticking with me all this way, guys. Next week's episode will be the last episode of season 1 of Noob to Nodewar. So, as always, thanks for watching, subscribe if you liked it, and have a good one.